Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at the Modniks, number 2, from Gold Key Comics, 1970. This is a very silly, maybe stupid comic. It's a perfect example of around this time in comic books, all these like middle-aged old men were trying to write for the hippie market because hippies had so much economic clout. You know, movies, TV shows, comics, everything was geared towards getting that hippie dollar, appealing to the young hippie sensibility. And there's so many comics from this time that are just so embarrassingly bad where it's like they make the hippies speak in this way that no one has ever spoken. It's like a patois of beatnik, surfer dude, hippie, even like 40s gangster. It's just, they didn't know what they were doing, but it kind of makes them hilarious. The cover's by Lloyd White, who will draw all the Modniks stories in this issue. But without giving it away, there's one comic in this comic, one story not drawn by him, which is the reason I own this comic. I wouldn't own it just for the Modniks. As you can see, the art is pretty cruddy. Lloyd White wasn't very good. The writer is Gary Poole for every story in this comic. He was a long-term Gold Key / Dell / Western writer. He wrote all kinds of comics for them, even like Twilight Zone and Boris Karloff. But he did a lot of the goofy, funny stuff. And we start off, we meet the Modniks here, and they're just talking like idiots. Like, let's go and have a swing in. We'll have a ball, and I don't mean maybe. I know, just a place where we can fling in. So then we cut away to the park, and we see the principal of the local high school where these kids go to school, and he's trying to read his poetry book in peace. And then all of a sudden he hears this racket, and the Modniks are having a happening in the park, and they're exhorting people to join the in crowd. And they know you'll dig it because they play in loud. Just utter rubbish, this dialogue. It's so silly. So then the principal comes storming through a bush and says, "You better stop this racket." Tries to get a police officer to make him stop, but they've got a permit. So the police officer is like, "Run along, you old geezer." And they say, "Hey, Mr. Blair," that's the name of the principal, "if it's poetry you want, listen. What a tangled web we weave when we spill spaghetti up our sleeve." So I guess this is supposed to be funny. Maybe if I was 7, this would be. So he goes to the mayor, and the parks commissioner. Apparently the old one has retired. So the new parks commissioner is this Mr. Harvey, who is this total hipster. He looks like a Quilty from Lolita. He's this like dapper, hip to the jive guy. And we can tell he's hip because he's playing with a yo-yo. And in fact, he announces next week in the park, we're having a yo-yo in. So he's the reason why all these hippies are getting permits to have happenings in the park. So he says, "Hey, did you come here because you want a happening?" And the principal, Mr. Blair, says, "Hey, maybe I will." So the next day there's an announcement at Surfside High about the happening. And when the kids get there, they're like, what's this going to be like? And he tells them it's going to be a learn-in because everything's in something in. Just because it's just so dumb. So he's going to have an art class, and they've got famous abstract artist Andy Wartnose. Obviously, he knows nothing of Andy Warhol because he's like doing Jackson Pollock action painting. He even dives into the painting with his body, and to make his abstract art. The kids are digging it. They think this is groovy. They have famous actor Marlo Bandit doing Shakespeare and doing it in this hipster style, but like very stupid hipster style. There's bird watching. For the home economics class, the local pizzeria owner is teaching the girls how to make real Italian pizza. The guys wouldn't want to know that, just the girls. Because, it's 1970. There's a Baroque group, and they make a fusion of folk and Baroque folk, and they find that groovy too. But then when they're all done, even though it's a success, the janitors, the guys who work at the park, are like, we're not cleaning up this mess. We're going to go on strike. So then they have a clean-in. And of course the kids totally get into it and like, this is fun. So apparently any shitty chore, if you put in at the end, like, I've got to wash dishes in, go to a dishwashing in, it makes it better and it makes it fun. So that's the end of that shitty little story. Okay, here's the reason, guys, why I bought this comic and why I continue to own it. Jack Davis, 1970, drawing in a 4-color mainstream comic book. At this point, Jack Davis was like making so much money doing covers of TV Guide. Every other ad you saw in a magazine was by Jack Davis. Album covers. He was probably one of the most popular commercial artists in America all throughout that time. And it's like, so I assumed this was a reprint from like the late 50s or something before he got so big. It's not, apparently. Apparently, this the writer, Gary Poole, he was pals with Jack Davis and somehow convinced Jack Davis to draw, probably for shitty rates, this comic. Because I think this is one of Gary Poole's earliest comics. And Jack Davis was a mensch and said, yeah, I'll draw it for you. So this is amazing, getting to see Jack Davis art in a comic book in 1970. And it's Noel Talent, the most unkindest cut. I don't think Noel Talent ever appeared again. He's an actor. Here we see his agent climbing up all the stairs to his apartment. He's not a very good actor. That's why he's living in this shitty apartment building. And he tells him that he's got a gig for him. And this is very old Mad Magazine. Like every panel or every other panel has a punchline or a joke. They really pack the jokes in. And it's way better than the Modniks. It's pretty good, humorous writing in that mad vein. So even if you were 13, 14, this might be pretty funny. So he says, I got you a role. It's an audition for a new TV series. Can you play a surgeon? And Noel has this total fantasy. Like, it's just his dream of, like, what'll happen when he's being the surgeon. He gets into his role so much, he's, like, fantasizing that he's a doctor. It's strangely enough, in his fantasy of being a doctor, he's completely incompetent, just like he would be in real life. He doesn't know anything, so it gives lots of opportunity for, like, kind of old, corny jokes, like, hey, this patient doesn't need aspirin, he's under anesthetic. There, for me, I have a splitting headache. So it's that kind of stuff. But look at this great classic Jack Davis cartooning. This is just the epitome of great humor cartooning. And so Jack Davis is done with his reverie, and we see this audience going wild. So apparently the whole time he was on a stage in his fantasy, these guys are so well drawn. He could have just drawn some random like circles, to be the audience, but everyone has a different personality. Kind of hard to see because it's all monocolored. And he takes his bow, and then all of a sudden he hears this thing, Noel Talent, report to the director. And he's like, wait, I'm supposed to be Ben Caveman, surgeon. And so he pops out of his dream, and it's the director. And he's like, yeah, I'm totally ready for the part of a surgeon. I got my scalpel. And he says, what are you doing? This TV show's about a tree surgeon, not a doctor. So he has to climb up this tree with a saw. Yeah, it makes perfect sense that there's a TV show about a tree surgeon. And he falls out of the tree. And he says, "Faker, there's nothing wrong with you. I forgot to tell you, I faint at the sight of sap." So that's the level of humor right here. I guess I don't really care. It's just nice to see this Jack Davis art. Even though all these jokes are like, totally corny. Just great cartooning. I love this ad. This was in a bunch of Gold Key comics around this time. Your future for boys and girls. So boys, you could grow up to be a chemist. And they tell you all the things you'll have to go through, the schooling, the knowledge you'll need. But girls, you can be an airline stewardess. And I guess the requirements back then for being an airline stewardess, you have to have a high school diploma, you have to be at least 19 and 1/2 years old, and 5'2" to 5'10". And that's all you need to do. And so there you go. Boys and girls, these are your job prospects. A little one-pager about Piranha. Dell used to always do this in Gold Key, just throw in little fact pages. I guess so they could seem educational and make parents think that they're okay. They have these little bad, corny jokes. So I gotta say, I kind of love this cute drawing of this lion couple. It's very adorable. I'm trying to find a typical kind of dream joke in here. Mother, I'm going to watch the solar eclipse. All right, but don't get too near. Okay, I'm not going to read anymore. That was terrible. Okay, we have the second Modniks story for this issue. It's a mini revolt. So, the superintendent is visiting Surfside High, and he says, "What's with these mini skirts these girls are wearing? This is unacceptable. I want you to ban these." So the principal, he's actually kind of like doesn't really want to do it. He's just like, "Oh, okay." He puts in a ban, effective immediately, on miniskirts. So everyone, all the kids get riled up, and they're like, "We're going to do a protest." And they sing a song about the miniskirt. All the girls got placards. They're having a demonstration. Up with the mini. Give me mini or give me death. And this local TV host hears about this. Of course, he says, "What kind of a bag is this? Somebody putting you down? It's Charlie Weird of the TV Go-Go show." So he says, "Hey, this could be good for ratings. Why don't you guys come on the show, and the principal will come on, or someone, opposing viewpoint, and we'll have a debate." So the principal brings in this ringer, the nerdiest kid in school, Cube Wilson. And he's a total square G. I mean, not a square G, he's just a square in the worst sense of the word. It's like, "How do I research skirts? I don't know about mini skirts. I'm a boy." He seems really clueless. So on the TV show, Cube gives his dissertation and just basically says, mini skirts are bad. The hemline cannot go any higher. It has to go lower. But then what's his face of the Modniks, whatever. Maybe I should find the names. I looked them up here. Let me read them to you. The Modniks are Wheels Williams, Lump Logan, that's the fat guy, Scott McCall, and Little Bit Bannon. So I think this is Wheels. Wheels Williams, he sings this rousing anthem in praise of the miniskirt. And basically 99% of the viewers are with Wheels. His song convinced them that the miniskirt's good. Now the principal, when his wife was watching the debates, he was like, "Remember we used to do the Charleston, honey? Maybe these kids aren't so much different than we were." So he comes home there's going to be a little PTA meeting at his house, and his old wife is dressed in a miniskirt, and all of the old women were like, "We're going to dress in miniskirts. We saw that TV show, and we were so impressed that we're all wearing miniskirts." And then they start doing the Charleston. And, oh my God. So dumb. Yeah, this guy Lloyd White's not very good. Every now and then, like, one little thing in a panel will look like, oh, this guy could be a good cartoonist if he kept trying. But for the most part, he sucks. So here we have the Modniks in The Drop-In. And there's a new coffee shop that's opened, and they serve 50-cent coffee there. So it's that kind of coffee house, if you know what I mean. And the entertainment that night is this guy, King Song. And apparently he's quite good. Everyone in the crowd thinks, wow, this guy's amazing. Even though he looks like an idiot, and his lyrics are, as you can imagine, wretchedly stupid. But they find out, they're like, hey, you seem to be our age. How come we've never seen you at school? He's like, oh, I dropped out, man. That was Nowheresville, that scene. Even though I'm paraphrasing, I'm sure the dialogue is just as bad as that. So Wheel says, man, that cat's got hang-ups. If there's only some way we could get him back to school, Lump says. So he convinces him and says, hey, man, would you want to just, check out our school? I think you'd find it a swinging place. And the guy agrees. So he tells the principal, Wheels, says, it's okay, I'm going to bring this guy around. I want to show him that school's cool. So they go to an art class, and Lump is doing this abstract painting with a mop. So it's not op art, it's mop art. In history class, he sees Ben Franklin, and just the fact that Ben Franklin has long hair, he's impressed. He's like, dig that crazy hair. Of course, gym class, it's the girls' PE, that class, and he likes that. He's like, look at all these swinging chicks. And then in literature class, he's like, hears about Thoreau. He's like, oh, that Thoreau sounds pretty cool. Oh, yeah, there. Look at this weird girl. Her hair's insane. So then when he sees the music class, though, that's what gets him going. Because the music teacher is doing modern jazz that week. So he's just like, this is some groovy shit. This is some motherfucking groovy shit. He doesn't say that because it's a Gold Key comic. So it turns out it works. And he says, I dig your school and don't mean maybe. Just watch me rock the honor roll, baby. So King Song's going to be a new enrollee at the Surfside High. Mission accomplished. These are weird. They're unknown artists. Mini comics. These two little gaggy comics. They're kind of like classic. Like this kid stuck in a desert island, and he gets a box. A big crate comes up. He's like, oh, what's in it? And it's a bicycle. You know, I mean, how many variations can you do on the desert island theme? There's millions of them. And this one is even weirder. Cupid is just shooting arrows left and right, having a fun time. And then all of a sudden, these arrows come at him. And it's a bunch of Native Americans shooting arrows at him. It's so idiotic. Though I do kind of like these weird color choices in these comics. I kind of would like a whole comic book of these mini comics. I kind of like them. They're so dumb. But that's it for the Modniks number 2. I will never buy the Modniks number 1, and I don't care about it because there's no Jack Davis in it. It's just all Modnik stories drawn in this crappy style. God, look at that cover. Look how terrible that is. But seriously, just that Jack Davis comic, I gotta hold on to it. And it's kind of fun having the Modniks as a curiosity. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this idiocy. And I'll see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.